this, so they are available on YouTube. You can always go back and look up things. We have Dr. Wingate there, which reminds me that Dr. Wingate is going to be 90 this year. Doesn't seem possible. Right, yes, so happy birthday to Dr. Wingate when it comes up. Dr. Wingate's there. We have various other professions represented. We have people who are just passionate about a particular interest on there. Seagrass, sea turtles, you name it, it's on there. You can have a look and see. Any of you are teaching or you've got young children or grandchildren, you might want to show them some of those YouTube presentations as well. How are we doing here? We're nearly there? Oh, hi, sorry, you want to sign in? Thank you. Is it Nim?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, yes, I was just filling in but not introducing. Okay.
Excuse me, Jennifer.
Yes.
Whereabouts on YouTube would be fine.
If you go onto YouTube and you go to Eco Lunch and Learn,
Okay.
they will come up, the series will come up. Yes, yeah. We have people here who are passionate about the environment. We've got Miles back there who does lots of stuff with the National Trust, so if you want to get involved, he's already there. Jonathan, who's been working with schools doing regenerative farming in schools. Brilliant project. The one I saw was at Paget Primary, went from concrete to bananas plants growing in like 48 hours. It was amazing, absolutely amazing what he did there. So yeah, anyway, I think we're now ready. Thank you very much. We're very pleased to welcome, have I pronounced it correctly, Nim?
Yes.
Nim, who is the president of the College Eco School. Oh, and I should have said, Amy, who is the lecturer, is actually coming back from New York because she was invited to talk at the New York Green Schools International event. I mean, how amazing is that Amy and Bermuda College have got that recognition and are now talking internationally. That's just brilliant. So I should have said that. But anyway, Nim is the president of the College Eco Club, and she will be introducing our guest speaker, Dr. Karen Dyer. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As stated before, I'm Nim. I'm the new president of the Eco Club. I will be introducing our speaker today, Dr. Karen Dyer. Dr. Karen Dyer is a chartered counseling psychologist registered in Bermuda with the Bermuda Health Council and in the UK with the British Psychology Society and the Health and Care Professionals Council, otherwise known as HCPC. Additionally, Karen is an existential psychotherapist, otherwise known as like a UKCP, and an art therapist, HCPC. As well as a clinical supervisor. Karen describes herself as a lifelong learner. Her early career beginning with nursing studies in Middlesex Hospital in London. Karen worked as a registered nurse in Bermuda at KENH, culminating in the role of clinical lead in the Agape House when the hospice first opened in 1990. After a break from work to focus on her family, Karen retired to Bermuda College to study art and design, graduating with an associate's degree in 1997. Her passion for learning continued first with the Liberty of Art with Liberal Arts BA from the Vermont College and Northwick University. Then with an MA in Counseling Psychology and Expressive Arts Therapy from Prescott College. Karen has been involved with hospice care programs in Bermuda in various capacities for over 20 years, from managing volunteers and fundraising offering art therapy and bereavement counseling programs to individual groups and families through Friends of Hospice and PALS. In 2022, Karen was awarded the doctoral degree in counseling psychology and psychotherapy from Middlesex University from her dissertation, The Phenomenon of Coping for Women with Primary Breast Cancer. During her training, she completed an 18-month internship at Guy's Hospital in London with a psycho-oncology support team. Karen now works in private practice in Bermuda with individuals, couples, and groups. Karen's interest today in today's topic is the impact of green and blue spaces on mental health was sparked during her doctoral research, which highlighted how connecting with nature was identified as a way of from study participants to cope with cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. Hopefully I can keep you interested and awake for 40 minutes. So connecting with nature for well-being is a subject that is a subject that I think most of us here are interested in, because we wouldn't show up if we weren't interested. And there's lots written about it, but really, this is really to ask some questions about how does it work? Why are green and blue spaces good for health? What are the positive effects of green and blue spaces on humans? How much time do we need to spend outdoors to get these positive effects, if there are any? And does green prescribing and ecotherapy actually work? Is it effective? I'm going to be covering information on, what are the theories that underpin these ideas, and is there any supporting evidence? And why does it matter to feel connected to the natural world? Mm-hmm. So nature provides this restorative environment for mind and body. Well-being is linked to the physical, the emotional, and social health. Health isn't just what goes on in the body. It's a holistic approach to being a human being. And increasing evidence highlights the importance of spending more time in nature. So the health benefits: stress reduction, spending time in parks, near the ocean. These activities can significantly lower stress and improve our mental well-being. Physical activity encouragement, going out in nature, it encourages people to exercise more, which promotes better overall fitness and physical health. And the third part is improved social connectedness. Natural environments foster social connections by providing community spaces for group activities and social interaction. So the psychological benefits, the ideas are: reduces stress and anxiety, improves mood and emotional balance, enhances creativity and problem solving, and promotes mindfulness and relaxation. A bit about creativity and problem solving. I invite you all to remember what it was like when you were a child and you were able to play outdoors, and perhaps you were at the beach and you were making sand castles and you wanted a moat and you had to go down to the water and you could never figure out how to get the water to stay in the sand that you dug the hole around your castle. These are the memories that I have from childhood, and we got pretty creative in how to keep the water around the sandcastle, and you still see kids doing that today. We also had mud pies. I don't know if children are allowed to get dirty anymore. We were allowed to play in the dirt. Nobody was worried about us getting sick. In fact, they threw us outside. And nowadays, do children get out in the natural world as much as they used 2 years ago? I'm not sure, but I'd encourage anybody with young children to let them go outside and play. The physical health benefits: physical activity, again, improves cardiovascular health, boosts our immune system functioning, and supports better sleep quality. Anybody who knows they've spent a day outside, they sleep like a baby at night. You stay all day in your office, you get into bed at night, and what happens? Most of us ruminate about what went on, who said what to whom, what we have to do tomorrow, and we don't sleep. So the social benefits: fostering this social interaction, building stronger community ties, encouraging family bonding, and promoting shared experiences in natural environments. Family time has been reduced. People sit at the dinner table with their cell phones. They don't even speak to one another during a meal. Getting out in nature is a way for families to bond, people to be together. without their babysitting iPads and technology. So time, how much time? The research says short and often, 2 hours a week, 20 minutes, 3 days a week, plus a few weekends. I have a list of resources at the end, so don't worry, I can give you I can email people a resource list. When we think about it, how long is 2 hours a week when we spend up to 10 hours a day in front of a screen? So if you can spend 10 hours a day in front of a screen, either at work or at home in front of your TV, playing your game, Xbox, PlayStation, all those things, we might be able to spend some time outside. So health and well-being benefits. 120 minutes a week can significantly improve health and increase well-being. Natural light exposure is something that I'm really interested in. It helps to regulate healthy sleep and enhances overall mood. So the sleep business is about, what they've found is you have to have natural sunlight going into your eyes. It has to go into your eyes, and then it's processed in your brain, and that resets your circadian rhythms, and that helps you to sleep. Sitting in a room, looking out a window, you're going to get diffused light. You're not going to get that. If you go outside always with your sunglasses, I know we should wear sunglasses in places like Bermuda, but occasionally you can take your, and even mine, I've got so many coatings on them, I'm not sure the light gets through. So I've been taking my glasses off. I've been sleeping better because I've been intentionally going out and testing this for myself. So I know it works. So this idea, being outside, it's going to support us physically and mentally. And even short experiences, short daily walks. If you get an hour for lunch, go outside for 10 minutes, walk around, get some sunlight on you. Obviously, I know sun cream, we don't want to be exposed to skin cancer, but we have to find a balance because we weren't born with sun cream on us. Phones, put them away. Again, we're always on our phones, and I'm guilty of this as well, but we know that there's this potential for a detrimental effect on stress and sleep and mental health if we're constantly engaged in social media and on our phones. We need phones, yes, we need technology, but we need moderation as well. Getting outside, switching our phones off is a really easy way to allow our brains to get back to healthier functioning. Green prescribing and ecotherapy. Green prescribing has been in the UK for several years. I don't know many people in Bermuda that do green prescribing. When I work with my clients, I often ask them how much time do you spend outside, and I encourage them to try to add some green time to or blue time to their ways of being. I just want to say that it's not the only way, right? Some people do need to go to the medical doctors. Obviously, we need to go to the psychologist. Don't want to put myself out of business. But we're looking for a holistic approach. Sorry, how do I slow this down? Because it's going too quick. Hang on. Back. Did the IT gentleman leave?
Yes, he did, sorry.
Okay, so we'll just go with that. So we're going to look at the body of research to support the need for green prescribing. So ecotherapy, nature-based healing. This idea that when you go out into nature with mental health professionals, it can be a way to support people to improve their mental health. Things like walking in parks, gardening, meditation outdoors are all examples of this. In Bermuda, we have several agencies that have really excellent ecotherapy programs. There's two that use equine therapy, so that's Windreach and Amber's Wings. Connecting with the animals really helps people to foster a connection and also reduces anxiety. Wilderness therapy, well, we don't really have a wilderness, but I think the closest thing to wilderness therapy for our young people is the Duke of Edinburgh Award program, where you see the kids with their backpacks bigger than them, and they spend the weekend out and about, and they have a great time because they weather the weather. They walk in the rain, they have their tents, they have their pots, they learn to boil water. It's just good for people to be outside and be doing things for themselves. It builds self-esteem. It builds, good positive feelings about, look what I've achieved. I can do it. I don't need my mummy all the time. This is a study in the UK. It's pretty wordy, but let's just run through it quickly. It was from March 21 to June 23, and the final report was released last January 24. So it was a green social prescribing project in the UK. 8,339 people with mental health needs were supported to access nature-based activities. 57% of the participants were from the most socioeconomically deprived areas, and 21% were from ethnic minority populations. The statistically significant improvements in well-being were happiness increasing from 5.3 to 7.5, life satisfaction increasing 4.7 to 6.8, feeling that life is worthwhile. You know, when you're depressed, you don't feel that life is worthwhile. Depressed people want to die. Sometimes they do. We need to get people to feel that life is worthwhile. Levels of anxiety reducing on an average 4.8 to 3.4. Depression symptoms reducing. Anxiety decreased. Physical activity levels. It's interesting. People who were out in nature doing physical activity, when they went back to their own lives, they reported that they continued to be physically active. That's a real win. So it's not just about, come in. It's not just about what happens in the moment when you're out in the green spaces. It's about what that does to your brain and reminds you, oh, I could do that again. And people do. So that's exciting. The last bit's a little bit confusing. Estimated social return on investment. So £2.42 for every £1 invested by the Treasury was what they thought would be the return on the social return. So basically, if you invest in a project, you're going to get a big return. You're going to have a healthier community in the long run. You're going to make money. The real outcome, by the time they realized it actually costs quite a lot of money to run these programs, the returns were 1.88 for every pound spent. But I still think that's a pretty good return for your investment. And I think people are worth investing in. If we don't look after human beings,
It's almost double, right?
it's almost double. So that's pretty good evidence of how green spaces and green social prescribing works. So the actual research, I didn't know who my audience would be, so I hope I don't bore you too much in this part. This is how they do the research. So when they're researching it, like nature's impact on stress, they'll do things like biomarkers and stress management inventories that are self-report measures usually. So to measure cortisol and amylase, they'll do saliva testing. They'll usually do the research. They'll sort of have comparisons. They'll do, one group will be in nature, the other group might be in an urban setting. And most of the findings are showing how nature enhances cognitive functioning, how we think, and our emotional well-being, how we feel. Now, these are theories that a lot of the research has produced, and we'll just go through them just to have an idea. This is how it all works. So stress reduction theory basically says that being in nature, it's the positive emotional response that causes the reduction in stress. And that this positive emotional is helping us reset our stress registering system. And that's what leads to improvements. The second one is the attention restoration theory. And this is 1989, 1995. This is about urban environments causing stress and fatigue, whilst all of this can be alleviated by spending time in nature, where perceptual experiences differ and allow the mind to wander and relax. So there's 4 parts of this. Fascination, right? This sort of effortless attention elicited by our environment. Who's been out walking and they've noticed something and they're just noticed they've spent 20 minutes looking at the birds, or I don't know. What mycing? So that's what I do, right? You sort of you lose touch of time. You're just fascinated by what you're doing. Being away, this idea of psychological and geographical distance from our daily routines, it's really good for us. You know, we need to take a break. And so how many people take breaks? Like, people do 2 jobs. People go home and then they have their second job, which is being women and men go home and they become looking after their family. Or maybe they're looking after their extended family. Maybe they're caregivers and they've got elderly parents. Or maybe they have a partner with dementia. So some people never get a break. So having a garden or just being able to, sit for 5 minutes and look at something in the natural world can be really healing. And again, this talks to extent and scope, right? So the physical size of the environment, the level of engagement, and how elements within an environment connect through structure and organization. So that sort of speaks to, if you haven't got time, how's it going to help you if you haven't got time to get there? Or if you haven't got anywhere to go because you can't leave the person. And compatibility, again, it has to align between the person's intentions and the environmental support. The enhanced immune function hypothesis. So this talks about the link between nature and how being in nature increases our immune system. And then they think that it's more important than other things like increased physical activity, improved air quality. Of course, it's going to be better air quality in nature. And the social connectedness that we get in nature can also boost our well-being, but they really think that it's the effect on our immune system. This is a big mouthful. Nature-based biopsychosocial resilience theory. So resilience they think of resilience as both a resource and a process. So a resource is, we think about the person's existing capacity to withstand stress, and it encompasses the biological, psychological, and social resources. And that kind of, like what I spoke about before, if your social resources are low because you don't have any time, or you've got a lot of responsibilities, or maybe you don't have any family, and you're old and you're stuck in your house and you can't get out. All of these things matter. And then the resilience, come in. Okay, come in. Find a seat. Resilience processes speak to how we use our resources through different, so here we go. Biological resilience, right? It can improve health by strengthening our immune system. We've already talked about that, our cardiovascular, our respiratory, and our neurological systems. Our psychological resilience, our well-being, reducing those negative emotions and stress, and replenishing our cognitive resources and building self-esteem. We spoke about self-esteem when we thought about the kids out camping. Social resilience, cooperating with other people, and having opportunities for shared positive experiences. And then there's phases. So preventative resilience would be using nature to reduce the risk of stressors, which is what I'm hoping we all do. Response resilience is when we've got a lot of stress and we think, oh gosh, I need to take a break. So I'm going to go out into nature. And then the recovery resilience is using nature to facilitate a quicker or more complete recovery from stress. So that would be when you do the green prescribing or you engage in the ecotherapy. And in my study that I did with women with breast cancer, those women were saying part of their coping mechanisms, and that's what I studied was coping, was engaging with the natural world. That they found that taking their dog out for a walk made them feel better. They were able to cope with their symptoms of chemotherapy and radiation therapy and post-surgical healing. Things like sitting in the garden and just noticing the bird song really connected them into something bigger than themselves. So it was almost like a sort of spiritual connection here for healing and as being part of the natural world. And remembering that human beings are part of the natural world. We're not, well, are we aliens? We're not aliens. We are just part of this bigger thing. And then the broader context of social and ecological resilience. So obviously in other countries where they manage wetlands and forests to protect from environmental stressors like flooding and climate change, what do we do in Bermuda? We don't let people chop down the mangroves anymore, do we? We protect them because the mangroves are going to help our shore not fall apart in the next hurricane. So all of it is connected. It's not just about us, it's about us in the place that we live. Okay, so the research evidence, right? It's all pointing towards lower rates of depression in green neighborhoods, people recovering faster when they're exposed to natural views, nature walks improving memory function and cognitive function, exposing ourselves to nature, reducing those cortisol levels. And so cortisol is the stress hormone that's released when when we get hyper aroused. So the more cortisol we have, our liver converts to sugar, ready to go. And what happens when we're stressed, we produce the cortisol. But in the olden days, you might have been chased by a lion or a tiger. We're not actually being chased, so we never use all the sugar that's released from that process. And what do? We get fat around the middle because, especially menopausal women, this is what happens, right? So it's all connected. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but just to show you that these are, there's a lot of research. 143 studies were looked at, this big meta-analysis, finding, increased well-being, decreased mortality, decreased stress. White was the researchers who they looked at nearly 20,000 people, and then they figured out 120 minutes or more a week is what we need to do. We don't have forest bathing here, but I think you could have forest bathing at Southlands. It's not really a forest, but it's green.
Trees.
There's plenty of trees. You could go to Spittle Pond and sort of sit in the middle of the trees. The other part is the blue spaces. We're surrounded by blue spaces. So it's interesting that 2017 research is coming out saying that blue spaces also improve our well-being. And 2021, that was actually studying urban blue spaces. So in cities when they have ponds and lakes. But did anybody go into, what's the park beside Queen Street?
St. Elizabeth Park.
Yes, yeah. When you walk through there, who stops and looks at the koi pond? Me. I love the koi pond. Why do I love the koi pond? I don't know, but I'm like, it's like a magnet. I'm there with my phone, taking pictures, right? Couldn't have the phone out.
Does blue spaces just refer to water, or does it also refer to being able to see the blue sky?
I think it's both, but I think a lot of the research is coastal areas. And they certainly sort of look at rivers, lakes. But I think the blue sky also helps us. And I think that's to do with the light. Because when the sky is blue, we get stronger radiation into our eyes, which is what it is. Because it's not all bad. And I think it makes us feel better. Anybody with seasonal affective disorder, anybody who's lived in the UK for a level of time in the winter, when it's dark at 3 o'clock, they get seasonal affective sort of depression. They don't see the blue sky, it's gray. And I think that makes a big difference. Right, so key takeaways. Our evidence across meta-analysis, cohorts, and randomized controlled trials. There's evidence that this green and blue space reduces depression and reduces psychiatric risk. There's also evidence, though, that access and quality of spaces also matter. So people need to be able to get into nature, and we need it. We need a certain amount of it. And it's also our job to protect what we have. And so there's strong implications for urban planning and also public health policies. So again, there's this real holistic feel to this subject. And there's So there's, we need collaboration. We need all the agencies to be on the same page. We need everybody to be working together, which is easier said than done. This is a particular piece of research that I really like, and I think it's something that we can all implement. So it's this idea that there's 5 pathways to nature connection, and the main argument is that this connecting this way makes a deeper and more meaningful relationship with nature, and how that's essential for personal well-being and pro-environmental behavior. If we love nature, we'll protect it. If we never have anything to do with it, we'll be ignorant. We might not know. We might not intentionally want to harm it, but we won't care. So it's this idea. So contact, explore it, take a closer look and experience it for yourself. Engage through your senses for pleasure. Listen to the birds, smell the flowers, and watch the sunset. We have amazing sunsets in Bermuda, right? We're so lucky. Beauty. Take time, appreciate the beauty of Mother Nature. Engaging with these aesthetic qualities and appreciating our natural scenery, or even connecting through the arts. There's lots of famous artists. What do they paint? Landscapes, right? People love them. What do people buy? Landscapes. They put them on their wall inside their house to remind them that actually there's a beautiful world out there. This is just a couple of Bermuda paintings by Winslow Homer and more recently Rona Emerson. Quite different paintings, but boy, aren't they both beautiful. Meaning. So consider what nature means to you. Using natural symbolism and language and metaphors to represent your ideas, thinking about the meanings and signs. The first long tails of spring. Who doesn't get excited when they see the first long tail? Is it only me? Is it like, am I not the only person? That's a long tail. The freesias. Actually, that's good, the freesias. I didn't put a picture of the freesias. The bluebirds. They come and nest in your garden, and you get, if you have a box, I get excited about the bluebirds. And then emotion, finding happiness and wonder, right? That emotional bond and love for nature, and talking about and reflecting on your feelings about it. So for me, I had this Blooming Night series, and we planted it and then we watched it for years, and finally this year there was a flower coming, and I was watching, and finally it opened. I was so excited. I had my phone again. And I took pictures, and look, even the insects. Can you see the bees? And I'm still excited about it. Looking at the pictures, look at the patterns on the flower. Look at the repetitions and the design of it. It's amazing. And then my friend, who's in the audience, sent me a picture of hers. She had about 40 flowers and flowers all the time. But anyway, that's the way it goes. But I'm still very excited about mine. So I think everybody, if you can think about what excites you, and feel into that and remember it. Compassion. Think about what you can do for nature. Extending the self to include it, in leading to a moral and ethical concern, will help us make ethical product choices and be concerned about animal welfare. And in Bermuda, there are lots of agencies, and this is not exhaustive, so my apologies if I've left anybody out. BEST, who are our hosts today, co-hosts today. Bermuda National Trust, Green Rock, Keep Bermuda Beautiful, Beyond Plastics, Bermuda Aquarium Museum and Zoo, BIOS, the Biological Institute of Oceanographic Studies, SPCA, right? With making sure our animals are looked after. So that contact, that beauty, the meaning, the emotion, the compassion, all of these things go into our connections and help us enjoy being a human being. So lots of practical ways to connect with nature: walking, gardening, outside exercise. And so what can you do? What are you going to do? The recommendation is tune into nature close to home as regularly as you can. Visit your local park, sit in your own garden if you have one. Go for a walk or a run. Swim. We're surrounded by water. And if you can't swim, sit on the shore and look at the water. Ride your bicycle. Well, I haven't got a bicycle anymore. I'd probably fall off. So if you're capable, ride your bicycle. Visit the local parks and gardens and simply experience being there, right? Try some mindfulness. That means turning off your phone and leaving the podcast behind and just listening to the natural sounds. And just, it's amazing how many different sounds there are. Admire the view. Take that time for yourself because you deserve it. Consider if you have got a garden, make it wildlife friendly. Maybe grow some food, maybe try some vegetables. It's exciting. And you feel good about yourself when you've grown one tomato. It's still exciting, even though some insects eating the rest of them, but it's green. I didn't use any pesticides. Join a walking group. There's nice walking groups in Bermuda. And bird watching. That's a cardinal on my porch. We put out some sunflower seeds and they came.
Wow.
There's no fancy bird feeder. I just bought a little bag of seeds from one of the grocery stores, Lindo's, where they sell parrot food. Not that I agree with keeping parrots in cages, but anyway. They sell sunflower seeds for $4. So I just put them on the porch on one of my plant pots. And the cardinals came. So, why does it matter? Well, nature is vital. It's vital for our well-being. It's vital for environmental responsibility. And we need to be connected because it's not just about us. It's about the future. And we need to get excited and we need to be willing to preserve things for the future generations. And we want to be healthier. We're going to live right now, we are probably the longest living generations on the planet. We are going to live for a long time. So we want it to be good, right? And it's better to be healthy and able to walk around than be stuck in a wheelchair in the hospital for your last 20 years. And sometimes people are. We have a huge problem in Bermuda with diabetes. We have a huge problem with heart disease. We have a huge problem with Alzheimer's. And all of those, most of those things are preventable. So we've got the power. We have to just make the choices and decide what we're going to do. There's lots of resources that I can email anybody who's interested. And I hope that's been helpful. And if anybody would like to make comments or share resources, ask any questions. Oh, sorry.
Hi, I am so glad that you have a lot of green spaces in there because that seems to be a big controversy when it comes to Southland. People keep separating the woodlands from the green spaces and making the woodlands like all important and sort of not really putting the importance on the green spaces. So I'm so glad you mentioned that a lot because I have actually written some letters to the Minister of Environment and I dealt a lot with how it affects our well-being and health. In fact, a lot of what you had there, I had in my letter to the Minister of Environment. And he wrote me back a nice letter, says he appreciates it and he will look into the matter. So I'm so grateful for your talk. I think you were just brilliant. Your whole presentation. I'm a no compromise when it comes to Southlands. I don't want to see any buildings, no parking lot. Just leave it there for people to totally enjoy the peace and tranquility. And you can't do that if a parking lot's looking at you or people walking in and out of a restaurant. So I am no compromise, and I told the minister that in my letter. I said, no parking, no cafe, no zip line, no compromise.
Now, have you heard or studied about this? My brother Chris is always telling us we have to walk outside in our gardens on the lawns without shoes on. He says it makes a difference. What's the difference?
So there's a theory, about grounding, and this idea that you can't connect to the earth if you've got shoes on your feet. I think that, there's some evidence. I think the jury's still out, but I think it does make sense, doesn't it? That when we're outside in the garden, or when you're children, what do you do when you're a kid? First thing you do is you kick your shoes off. Right? You walk around in your bare feet as much as you can because you can't stand the feel of shoes. Or maybe that was just me. But, I think we have to be doing things within reason. So, if you're walking in a public place and you don't know if a dog's been there and done and there might be, in your own garden, in your own back garden, where you know that it's relatively safe and you're not going to stand anything or pick up any illnesses. Yeah, I think it's worth, if it works for you, do it. It's not going to hurt you unless you stand in something stand on a centipede or something, but you've got to be careful. There's risk. It's always risk.
Yes.
But I think, there is some evidence for it. Still more evidence needed. Hi.
What would you recommend for an individual like ourselves? It's no good going to the MPs, any of these companies, because when we see gardeners that come in to do our gardening, they paid no attention. For example, I had a beautiful bed of freesias that were brought in. And I personally do my own gardening. And there's some individual, I live in a condo, who delights in removing these flowers. She calls herself a landscaper, but in actual fact, she's a hardscaper. This is a professional hardscaper, that they know so little about gardening, so that I want to be able to write a letter to somebody and this is from a professional company in Hamilton. But this company is not, and I just want to know who to contact.
I'm not sure. Certainly speak to them directly.
No, that's useless because she's got mental health problems.
Well, I'm very sad to hear that someone would ruin the freesias, because that's some.
Terrible. And I had Bermuda lilies, I gravitate. The lilies go, the freesias come out, and the hibiscus is always there. And
It's a shame, but we don't have ecology police yet. But maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need an agency. Excuse me.
You can actually contact the Department of Workforce Development, because there are things called national standards that the landscaper should be at a certain standard in understanding horticulture. And it should be registered with the Bermuda government to meet this national standard. I don't have the actual number.
no, not the number, but
What's the name?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to
Development.
Workforce.
yes. And also, I just wanted to add, you hug a tree, and it's the most beautiful energy, really. It's not made up. Because you can go to some trees that don't have that energy, and you feel this terrible sadness because they're sitting in concrete, and they're the only tree. I went to a parking lot. There was this tree, all alone, surrounded by concrete.
Well, you're right about trees having vibrations and energy. There's a study on in the UK at the moment about how trees communicate with one another.
Yes.
So there's all sorts of wonderful studies, and so there's a lot more. There's a mycelium mat, apparently, underneath the soil that connects all the fungi. There's a great Netflix program about that, if you're into those sorts of things. But, so there's still a lot that we've lost touch with our comfort, I think, with nature or familiarity with nature because we've been removed from it. So it's about trying to reconnect. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Miles.
Okay. I noticed in Bermuda currently, you mentioned the idea of prescribing nature as a healing, and I've seen in other jurisdictions that they do that, and that it's kind of recognized. Do you see a future where insurance companies can acknowledge the benefits of time outside, and in Bermuda, we could be allowed to utilize that accordingly so that we could reap the benefits in a more sincere or recognized way?
Yeah, I think, you know, it wasn't that long ago where they didn't recognize art therapy. So, you know, my story is I was an art therapist. I came home. Insurance says, oh, no, we're not paying you. And I said, oh, I'm going to have to be a psychologist so I can get paid. So I went off and started my doctorate. And then I think it was 6 months in and they said, oh, yeah, we will reimburse art therapists. So I said, I said, no, keep going, be a psychologist. So I think if we ask for it, we'll get it because it's going to be part of mental health services. And so it will be hopefully counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists who'll be prescribing it and recommending it. And so it's about, there will be young people coming back with degrees in ecotherapy, just like when I first came back, I think I was the second person in Bermuda who was an art therapist. Now there's about 15 people. So it's going to happen. It's just, does the community want it?
If I could just add to that before Venice goes, what struck me was the number. When you said you pay £1 and you get 1.88 pounds. That's what these people need to see. That's what the actuaries need to see. That's what the politicians need to see. That's what they need. Because it comes down to business and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
Yeah, and that was, and
Sorry.
funny, no, that's so funny because we're all friends, so we're connected, right? But yeah, that was my question. How do we get this to the, like, obviously, we kind of are already invested in this subject, right? Everybody in this room. And this is one of the things as somebody who works in the green sphere, I guess you could call it. How do we get this information to the Ministry of Health who should be here watching it? Is there anybody here from the Ministry of Health? No. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like, how do we get that to, you know, Kim Wilson, I think she's the Minister of Health at the moment.
Yes.
And she's a very approachable person, you know, so, but how do we get this to people like that? We have, you know, crisis level healthcare in Bermuda, apparently with the highest healthcare a cost per capita in the world. And maybe it just comes down to like everybody spend an extra half hour outside a day and, you know, we can resolve a lot of these issues. Exactly. Look at our social problems that we have, right? You know, all of these things. So we need to figure out a way to, I love the eco talks, they're wonderful, but we need to figure out a way to get this information out to a broader audience. That's why I was taking pictures of your slides, because I was like, I'm going to post this stuff on social media. Not stealing your slides, but just
Do you have some slides?
to do some stuff. But yeah, I
think that's the biggest question, right? It's like, how do we, you know, when you're preaching to the converted, so how do you get the people, the rest of the people interested on it? And I think there's a couple of ways. In the UK, they've got this project, the Wildlife Trust. They have a thing every June where they call it 30 Days Wild. And they basically, school kids, different groups, all, you know, they sign up, and I think they get like a little booklet of like different things they can see in nature, foxes and blah, blah, whatever. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool to do that in Bermuda? To really make it something that will go across the whole thing, not just about mental health, which still has huge stigma attached to it, but, you know, and not just physical health, but just well-being. And, you know, it's something where families could get together and go out and do it. Now, I don't think June's the month for Bermuda, because, you know, I'm thinking April. So I'm so excited about this, and I need people to help me get this off the ground, because I think it would be really cool.
absolutely.
And so, you know,
We do have forests in Bermuda. I'm going to just disagree with you on that. I mean, when you say forest bathing, I actually have done a lot of research into that. And it's like one of the things I'm considering doing when I retire is becoming like an official forest bather person who can take people out on that. Because, you know, I think there's both a local and a tourist market for it. We get people who come here from New York or DC, and they're only here for a couple of days. You know, you take them and do a half-hour meditation type experience in Spittle Pond or any of the wonderful National Trust forests that we have, right? Spaces, yeah, Tom Moore's or whatever. You know, I think that we do. We don't have thousands of acres, but we do have Bermuda's little versions. Oh yeah, microforest. And then there's the aquarium's little microforest projects that they're doing. So we do have that, not to say it's not right, but
we don't manage them for like flooding.
yeah.
We manage our
I think maybe we just need to market them a little bit differently, maybe. You know, let's put a little spin on that, right? Miles works really hard to have these beautiful green spaces, and the National Trust has huge amounts of green space. Maybe we just need to like put a little spin on that about forest bathing it.
What's the situation with ecotourism in Bermuda?
Yeah, we do have a couple of
Tourism.
ecotourism companies. Yeah.
But again, you're right. So how do we connect everything together?
Yeah, exactly.
So again, it's like we have to do things. We have to keep our, as you say, keep banging on the drum and
Yeah,
keeping ourselves out there and reminding people.
exactly.
One of the things that I found was really helpful for me was walking every day on the railway trail or even just around my sort of neighborhood, because you see the same person. If you go the same time, you keep seeing the same people, then you make friends, you know, they're in your neighborhood
That's true.
and stuff. You get to meet their dogs, which is always fun, and all this stuff. My husband's retired. He doesn't do much activity, but he's a great potato planter. He's very excited. I get to look how many potatoes he's got, how many onions are cutting up. And I also get a daily update on the cardinal situation.
There you go.
Who came, what time the mummy cardinal came, and if their baby came or not. So all these things sort of make you connected rather than him just sitting on the porch, you know, building fake towns and wars on his iPad. It's so much better for him. I always find he's in such better mood, you know, when he's been out in the garden with his potatoes and cardinals.
I'm conscious of the time, so I know some people are students and have to get to their next classes. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
We'd like
Can you send those references, Karen?
Kim, could perhaps the references be put on the BEST website?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's right.
I can send you just one slide to put up if you want.
Right, yes.
Presentation or?
I mean, access the slides. I heard you say it's okay if you say no, but
Yeah.
I would review them again. And
Well,
what I
just before, very quickly, sorry, could we just say thank you, please, very quickly? Sorry. We'd like to thank, that was an amazing presentation to kick off the 8th series. Yeah, thank you. If you do have any questions, Karen, have you got a few minutes after? If you have individual questions. But this will be up on the YouTube channel, Eco Lunch and Learn, if you wanted to review it again. And I think we'll get the references up on the BEST website too. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget, BEST is there protecting these open spaces.
Why are you sitting in here? You need to be outside protecting.
Trees. How's your mum doing? Did she get over a cold and everything?
Yeah, they're all fine.
Okay, good. Yes, and I'm so enjoying it.
I kind of have to after
I can't even say I'm sitting here.
I'm making them in China.
Oh, you are making it?
Yeah.
Maybe yours is better than
You there with the fruit?
Well, I was like, were you there? Yeah, of course I was there. I think I did see you. Looking at you.
Paved roads, not parks. That was my.
Oh, I had spoiled. Okay, right.
Sanctuary and salt.
Spoiled
Sanctuary and salt. Protected lands, I thought that was pretty strong.
Tonight, 5:30.
No.
I actually took them to my local farmer. Not on me. Kim has all my.
I'm just making sure she's still.
So 20 pounds.
Yeah,
plenty of
it's just the press.
That's what I thought. So I'm talking to the right person.
All right.
And when they're done, I put them in the dishwasher. Sorry, I mean dishwater.
I send out to the restaurant trees on my WhatsApp every day. I send a different tree.
Oh, the ones, I get, he just joined me. I love it.
I'm just like you. I'm just gonna dig for it like you are.
Excuse me. I'll do you one. See you later.
I'm gonna dig for my paper like you
Just
did.
share the past.
Great on you, it should anyway.
I'm not sure if I will. One of the things I mentioned like my dog.
That time, Julia, try to take some.
Oh, well done, Karen. What it is, just really going in there and look it up, I think they do, but I don't know what the name is.
And with that,
Know how to make these.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, yes.
Give me your.
I've been going intermittently when I can because I'm doing so many. The Europe meeting.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Winnie.
So
Okay.
let's see. In getting insight from these people overseas, because I'm meeting a month too much right now. I totally basically I could work see if we could happen. Go to these meetings and make sure I got enough and I can keep going. It is a space where
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
share how we
We were doing these cameras.
I'm not sure how far this will go. I know I've already spoken some of my concerns with regard to arbitration to Lord Randall, so he can see if there's any way to address this in the House. Really,
Nice. I'll get
address our
that.
biodiversity
That's something she might be.
themes that come
Cool. I was gonna talk to Jennifer about it.
that's why we're moving towards the
The doctors just go.
So you know Kelly's work as well.
I do.
So we do.
So now, if you're free.
But I think we do need them. We do need, some people need.
Yeah, well, that's the
And you
whole
got the
thing.
information from the city about national standards and what.
Just letting you know that you are doing these things.
Absolutely.
And it would be really interesting.
National standards.
Are they looking for scientists? I mean,
No,
I don't have
no.
your sort of.
No, that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. The idea is just to hear it out and to share where the problems are, resolve those problems, how that's coming together.
She used to work up at the.
Things are getting better. I'm trying to be positive.
Yes, yes,
Things are
yes.
getting better. So one of the things that you can see
When there was a
in the partnership with government and
Yes.
the town.
Yes.
That in and of itself might be of interest, and I've shared that with Nancy and
Okay.
a few other people in other islands. But other ways to do that, so I was just inquiring.
So that's nice to make that connection again.
You got a lot of information.
And
Probably too much information.
that's the norm.
Yes, yes.
No, but it's good because it goes, I mean, and that young guy was.
And I've actually already, I'm writing some management.
Yeah, he was very. And he says.
Something to talk about, but maybe we make it free for locals, or we have a.
I was saying that
done in Hawaii, and it was-
we should just hang out, we should do nothing. I don't know how tolerant society is of kids just hanging out. They always think they're up to no good or something. We need to encourage them to hang out.
And then we charge visitors.
More.
Yes,
Because that's what it's really about.
Yes.
Yes.
$50 for
The hanging out.
And
Well,
I
yes,
have
but
a
that's gotta
problem
come, that'll come
because-
shortly.
Yes.
Anyway, these are the ideas. that
Not just them, so
I just wanted to
example.
see if I can keep going, but if there was someone from the town society, then what I could do is have them go. maybe
Yes, it is.
Office of the trust, or as a.
We need to, and we need to do some, a survey of
Whatever, rather than me doing
age,
all
what they
these